Hi, it's Timothy Carlson here. If you live in the civilized world, there's no way you couldn't have heard about the Hunger Games franchise. These novels by Suzanne Collins became worldwide legends, and the feature film series, of course, made a ton of money. So it stands to reason that Collins would write a new novel in this series, which, of course, would get its own film adaptation. But it's a prequel, so it's a little different. And that movie, of course, came out last November. The fifth film in the Hunger Games saga and the prequel to the others. This is The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I'm going to unbox this release and I will share my opinions. This is just the standard release. There is a steelbook release of this, which I believe is exclusive to Walmart. I wasn't able to get that release, but if I do, I'll certainly unbox that on my channel as well. We do get a digital code of the film. We get 2 discs, a 4K disc of the film, and a Blu-ray disc of the film. I'll read the description of the movie as follows from the package. In this prequel to the Hunger Games, a young Coriolanus is the last hope for the once proud Snow family that has fallen from grace in a post-war capital. Snow reluctantly takes an assignment to mentor Lucy Gray Baird, a tribute from the impoverished District 12. But after Lucy Gray's charm captivates Panem's audiences, Snow unifies with Lucy Gray to turn the odds in their favor. Battling his instincts for both good and evil, Snow races against time to survive and reveals if he will ultimately become a songbird or a snake. I quite liked the Hunger Games films. They were pretty good movies. I can't say that they exactly left me wanting more, but despite that, we did get a prequel film here, and being a fan, I was certainly eager to check this one out, despite my lack of previously wanting more of this universe. I do think the older movies ended on a bit of a dour tone with the Mockingjay movies. I don't know that they needed to split that book into 2 movies, and they did sort of drag out longer than they needed to. That said, though, I did go to an advanced screening of this because, again, I'm in the local Critics Society here in Vegas, and I have to say, while I did have some problems with the movie, overall, it's actually very good. I would probably rank this near the top of the Hunger Games movies. Certainly not the best one in the series, but a very solid effort. Here we get a look at Panem in the past, back when this whole nation of sorts was still rocked by the war that led to the creation of the Hunger Games. In the old films, of course, the capital is just the pinnacle of luxury and decadence. But here the capital is still war-torn, and even have poor people living in the capital, something I wasn't sure even existed in the movies that are set later. And the main hero, of course, is Snow. Snow is the character who would later become the villainous president of Panem, portrayed by Donald Sutherland in the films that are set later. And that, of course, certainly intrigued me. I mean, you could have made a prequel or a side story around any character in the Hunger Games universe. I mean, Hamish Abernathy, who was portrayed by Woody Harrelson, would have been a great choice, but Snow certainly presents a more interesting challenge, and Tom Blythe, the young man who portrays this character, is absolutely fantastic. We get to see a lot of different facets of his personality. We see a younger, more optimistic, maybe even more naive version of this character, but as things go on, you start to see how he becomes the hardened man that he would become in the movie set later, where he's the president of Panem. The real standout in the cast, of course, would have to be Rachel Zegler, who portrays Lucy Gray Baird, the tribute from District 12, who goes to fight in the Hunger Games and is, of course, mentored by Snow for the games. Zegler is a beautiful young lady, and she always lights up the screen in everything she's in, and this might even be her best acting role to date. We got a girl here who's something of a songwriter, but is someone who's not afraid to speak her mind or take action when she has to. And of course, she's from District 12, which is the district that Katniss Everdeen, the heroine from the later set movies portrayed by Jennifer Lawrence, came from. She's not a relative of the character, but you can sort of see where a lot of what that character would become later sort of initially came from. And it's just an all-around great supporting cast. You have Viola Davis as the game maker in charge of the Hunger Games. You have Peter Dinklage portraying the man who first invented the Hunger Games, who's become something of a strange drunkard these days. And one of the real surprises, of course, is Jason Schwartzman, who portrays Lucky Flickerman, the host of the Hunger Games, who's just a witty guy who's got a hilarious quip for any moment of the movie, no matter how dire or inappropriate it may be. This guy got so many laughs out of me throughout this film, and It's a shame that his role doesn't get talked about more. He, of course, is meant to be an ancestor to Caesar Flickerman, the Stanley Tucci character that we see in the later set films. And, of course, the set building is absolutely fantastic. This was actually shot over in Europe. Some of the scenes were even shot in a building that was built for the Olympics in the 1930s. So you get some really beautiful, really unique locations, but then you also, of course, have the wilderness locations outside of District 12. So you really start to see the contrast between the capital and the districts, even if it's not quite what it would become in the later films. I did have a lot of fun with this movie. Probably the only real major complaint I had was it's simply too long. It clocks in at about 160 minutes, and it's divided into 3 segments. I mean, they split the Mockingjay book into 2 movies, but honestly, I wonder if this movie could have been 2 movies. Unfortunately, when you get to the latter half of the 3rd chapter, things start to feel a little rushed, and some of the plot points do get a bit jumbled. That said, though, I did think this was an excellent movie. I never really thought I'd want another Hunger Games movie, but this movie, which of course is directed by Francis Lawrence, who directed most of the previous ones, is excellent and certainly much better than I was expecting, with great performances, great world building, a great backstory. It speaks for itself, and it's a fantastic movie. This is, of course, a modern release shot on all the latest equipment, and I'm happy to say it looks absolutely beautiful in 4K. I don't know if this will necessarily become your demo disc, but you get nice, bright, bold colors, but you get those deep, dark black levels and the added shadow detail where that's necessary. Now, I know this was shown on IMAX theaters. I don't know if it was shot or shown in like a taller IMAX ratio, but this is just in the 2.39 to 1 ratio. So, I'm not sure if it was actually shown in a taller ratio. There are a few shots throughout the movie that make it look like it probably was shown in that ratio in theaters, so that is a little disappointing. I mean, the 4K release of Catching Fire also did not have the IMAX scenes, so that is something to be warned about, but the actual quality of the picture looks gorgeous. And we do get a pretty good haul of bonus features. Bonus features are on the 4K and the Blu-ray. The 4K, in addition to the stuff that's on both, also adds in some theatrical trailers, but we also get a letter from Suzanne Collins. We get the full performance of Rachel Zegler singing the Hanging Tree song, but we get a multi-part making-of documentary that's nearly as long as the film itself. Very comprehensive. It is a lot of the standard EPK type stuff, but if you're a Hunger Games fan, it's an absolute must-watch and certainly worth your time. If you are a fan of the Hunger Games films and you're curious as to how this prequel turned out, it's a very good film, and I highly recommend this 4K disc. Are you a fan of the Hunger Games series? What do you think the best movie is? How do you think this prequel compares to the previous releases? Comment down below and let me know what you think. Also, remember to subscribe to this channel for more content. I'm always posting new videos, and make sure you give this one a like if you found it helpful. I'm Taylor T. Carlson. I'll see you next time.